Hey everyone, and I hope everyone is having an absolutely fantastic day today. It's Cecil here, and I'm going to be doing something a bit different than my usual guides. I'm going to be rating every bit frame in the game, which is probably going to be impossible or going to be argued with, but it's fine. I'm here to raise some controversy and have conversation. So before we get into it, please remember to like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy these type of Karuta content videos. It'll definitely help me make more in the future. Now let's start the video with the drop of the day. And I have high hopes for this one. I'm not sure if you guys have kept up with the updates yet, but Solo Leveling just released, and man, oh man, am I hyped. This is probably one of my favorite webtoons that I've read in a while, and I would, give anything to go back in time, to a point where I haven't read it yet, just so I could read it again. So definitely recommend it to my viewers. Go give that a read and, hop on the Solo Leveling hype. All right, so drop of the video. Please just give me a low print Sung Jin Woo or Igris or something, please. And it's absolutely nothing. That's all right. Never lucky with the low print drops, but alas, that is how Karuta works. So I'm actually editing the video right now, and I just wanted to give you guys a quick update that I dropped Tank from Solo Leveling, and I am hyped. This is a beautiful, sexy hunk of a beast that Sung Jin Woo summons to fight for him. One of my favorite characters, and even though it's not Sung Jin Woo or Chain, I'm happy. And I dropped it, I think an hour after I finished recording. So I'm going to go ahead and attribute this drop to you guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. And yeah, let's get back to the video. All right, now let's dive straight into kind of this tier list. Just to preface, I know everyone has different tastes and different looks on different frames, but here's my list based on my experience frame testing and dying for the past couple of months. I think I have every frame here. Let me just pull this up real quick. Hopefully you guys can see. Yeah, I think you guys can see, but if I'm missing any, please let me know in the comments below, and let's get started. Now, this first one is the Abandoned Church frame, and honestly, this is by far one of my favorites. I think it encompasses the entire card very well. I do like the die. It's kind of unique. It snakes around everywhere, and it even covers the inner parts here. You guys probably can't see it as well, but it's definitely like a high A tier for me. Very solid. It's kind of like the poor man's stained glass gem frame. Solid frame overall. I always test this for my customers. Next frame is the Archery frame, and to be honest, I haven't really used that at all, or I've actually never tested or sold this actually, so it's definitely gonna be a D tier for me. I'm sorry, Archery. Next one here is the Autumn View frame. Again, classic. I know, I really enjoy this frame. It's gives a peaceful vibe with a little bridge and the flowers across the entire frame. I use this frame for a good amount of my cards, and I always test it for my friends as well. The dies look really pretty in this. It covers the flowers and makes them the color that you dye. So definitely an A tier, I'd say. So left to right, I think Abandoned Church still holds the torch to Autumn View, but it's definitely up there. Next is the Bamboo Stalks frame, and this one's interesting because I don't see this often as well. Yeah, not many people want it or buy it. I actually used to sell bit frames a lot, so I know which ones usually sell out very fast, and this is not one of them. So I say low C or D. To be honest, I think it's a D. It's probably a high D. The die doesn't really dye anything besides that top circle part, and overall just not really great. Now this next one is the barbecue frame, and this frame is very niche. I think it works well for different animes like Food Wars and stuff, but besides that, I think I've seen it on random cards, but it's more like a niche meme frame than anything. The general pattern is this, right? If it's more general and more applicable to many things, then it'll look better from a more broad viewpoint. But if you put a spatula and meat and stuff on the frame, that's gonna look weird unless that card has something to do with that theme. So I'm gonna put it in a low C. I think people still use it, but it's a decent frame, and I like the layout, and the morphs look really good on this frame. Either way, now this Baroque frame is interesting. It just came out, I think, a couple weeks ago. I really like this, and I think it works well for a variety of different frames. It's a classic, dies really well as well. I haven't seen too much Morse on this, but yeah, I think it's a solid pick. Definitely test it for all my clients if they ask for a general bit frame test. So there we go. Next is this Beachside? I think it's called Beachside. I'm not even sure, but I don't see this that often, and I don't use it that often, but it's definitely better than a D. I'd say mid C. Better than Barbecue for sure, but it's a little, I don't know, too specific. Just not that popular of a frame. Next is the B frame, and this is also another recent frame that came out last week. Don't really like this frame, to be honest with you. It's just ugly. It's just straight ugly, and it doesn't fit with any card. Definitely bottom of the D tier for me. I do not like this frame at all. Now, here we have one of the most goated frames in Karuta. This is your to go. If you are a bit frame testing, you best believe your tester should test this for you. This is a classic. It's almost at the point where it's overdone, and it doesn't look as like, it just looks plain if you have it, but this is the pinnacle of bit frames in the game. And it's funny because the brass frame follows the cherry blossom, which makes sense because it's also a freaking S tier frame. These two are like, they carry the bit frames crew. This is a simple, elegant, nice frame that you can frame literally any card in. The only bad thing about this brass frame is it's a little hard to dye because it stands out so much, but besides that, the morphs look really well. It looks clean, and if you don't know what to dye or frame a card, you slap this on them and 100% it'll look pretty good. I really can't decide between these two. I am just gonna leave it like this for now, but yeah, I can't really decide. Now, Bubble Bath is yeah, I don't really use this either. I haven't really dyed this frame. Not sure. I think it's a little too niche to use in a lot of cards. I'm gonna put it in the D tier, maybe above Autumn View. Nah, I think below. I think above Autumn View actually. Let's do that. Now, this next frame is a frame that came out recently as well, and wow, honestly, when it came out, I thought it was a freaking gem frame. Like, this is a beauty of the frame. Like, this is an S tier frame for sure. And if you have slapped this frame on someone, you already know that the dye works extremely well in this frame. It covers the ribbons, it wraps around the roses, and it looks really, really clean. The morphs are really, really clean. This theme fits with a majority of like waifus and like anime characters. I think it looks really, really well put together, and definitely an S tier frame. Even though it's recently introduced, it's definitely a top tier frame. Now, the carved stone frame, I don't see as much, but it works in a lot. It's very much applicable to a lot of cards. Has a clean, elegant look. I'm gonna give it a low B. The chocolate orange frame is another fan favorite. It looks weird at first, just from like a frame perspective, but after you dye and like, I don't know if it makes sense, but after you dye and morph this frame, it looks pretty well done. And I like the font of the text on this frame. It looks really clean. It doesn't even look like oranges once you dye it, so definitely gonna be a low A tier here. Now, this next one is the Night Chrome. It's another classic, the A tier for sure, top A tier. But many characters like Ken Kaneki. This is like the to-go bit frame for a lot of darker, like mysterious characters. The only bad thing I hate about this frame is that it dyes really awkwardly. It only dyes its two edges, and the colors go to whack. Like, I've dyed this light blue and it's gone like purple or something. Like, the dye itself doesn't really work too much, but it's a clean frame. The morphs are decent, and it just looks really well. It's a classic, so deserves that high A tier. Yeah, this next one is the Crystal Mines frame, and it works really well with a lot of cards. It gives that grotesque, like, not grotesque, but very like ragged look that goes with a lot of characters, and it's a solid frame. Any solid frame that doesn't look ugly and can be used in a broader variety of applications, I'm putting the B tier. So I think this is better, more commonly used in carved stones, so I'm putting that there. Next is Dragon Hunt. I get requests sometimes to test this, but not that often. It looks clean. I don't really see a predominant like character or card or series that uses this frame, but it doesn't look bad, so just a B tier. So B tier is anything that just like it's very general, can be used in a variety of different applications, but isn't as niche or ugly as C or D, but isn't, you know, a GOAT like S, or isn't that reliable as A. Now, Edo Furin is interesting because I really like the concept of this frame. It's really nice and it goes well with a variety of different cards. Really beautiful frame, but the only thing I hate about it is the die, and the die looks, in my opinion, very it's like cheesy, very bad. It's just too much. And if you guys haven't seen it before, the die just, it's like it covers the inner clouds as well as the outer clouds, and it just looks really weird. It mutes the colors. If it weren't for the fact it for sure being A tier, but I think it's gonna be a high B tier for me. Next is the Faerie Forest frame. Don't see it that often. Don't test it that often. Generally, just not that great in my opinion. I think high C. Fortress has been a classic, and I think, you know, like a couple months ago, before all these fancy new frames came out, Fortress was a to-go frame, but unfortunately, I think a lot of frames do what Fortress does, but better. And I haven't gone through Kominka yet, but I feel like in every character which you can frame it with a Fortress frame, you can frame it with a Kominka, and it looks so much better. The die looks really off-putting in this frame as well, and it just looks really, really weird. So because of its old reliable status, I'm gonna put it in a low B, but it's struggling. Okay. Above Dragon Hunt, but it's still struggling. Now the Frills frame is really nice. It goes with like very like fairy waifu, like more of a feminine aesthetic, which is cool. I like what it provides to the game. A lot of people use it, so definitely gonna be a mid B tier. Reliable. Now this is I think it's called the Fuselage frame. Never applied it, never tested it on anything. In fact, I've always traded the Fuselage frame. I've heard of it. I've never looked at it, or I didn't even know what it looked like until I posted this image onto this website. It's like it's struggling between beauty and Fuselage, but this takes the cake, man. This is an ugly frame. Kominka, one of the goats. You already know what I'm gonna say. This is one of the most popular frames that people use. It goes very well with the more popular animes right now, like Demon Slayer or Jujutsu Kaisen. Has this like Japanese aesthetic, really nice frame, could be a gem frame. And the only thing is the die looks kind of weird, but we'll do with that. And it's really hard to rank the S tier. I'm really not going to try to rank that. Next is the long hair frame, also another recent frame, absolutely atrocious. No one uses it, don't use it. It's going to be with these three. This should be like an F tier where these three are going to be there. Magitek is okay. I can see it more like sciencey, like that kind of vibe. It gives off that vibe. Very niche though, but it looks clean. It doesn't look bad. I think it's a high C. It would be a B tier, but I need to balance out like the amount of cards. So maybe we'll see it pushed up in B, depending on these rests. We'll see. Now this frame, I think it's called the Magus frame, is very popular. A lot of like more wizardy types cards, like magic type animes, really use it and uses it well. It takes dies really, really well, and it takes morphs even better. I really like it. It's reliable. I think it's top of B for me. Below Edo. Below Edo. That's what I'm thinking. Now, the Musical Notes is another new frame that just came out. I don't know how I feel about this. Like, it's very niche. It's kind of ugly, but it works with some cards, like more K-On characters or somewhat. But I'm gonna go with a mid D here. Definitely not part of this three, but above Archery for sure. Patchwork frame, again, never use it. Don't know what cards go well with it. I've never had someone request a test for it. It's gonna be a D tier. Here. Now, Pirate Voyage is requested quite often. I think it's pretty nice. Classic, like One Piece characters or like more adventure types, like boating types. I see those enemies being used on this, and it takes dies decently. I haven't seen or have much experience with Morse with this frame, but because of that, I'm putting it in a mid B tier. Now, this, I forget what this frame is called actually. Oh wait, no, this is the robotic frame. I've seen it used as like a budget chrome frame or alien alloy frame a couple times. I think it's like a low, like a upper D, better than yeah, it could work in some situations. I see it sometimes, but yeah, not really a C frame for me. Now, the Rozen frame is a classic. I think it works on some characters. It thins out the card, like really thins out the card. So don't really like how it frames the card, but a lot of people use it. It goes well with like themes. I think it's gonna be a low B for me. Now, Scimitar Fight is another good frame, good bit frame. I think the bones really, make it pop. The sword's really cool. Works well for, like, again, One Piece and other action animes. Very clean inner. Takes the dies really well, especially Mystics. So I think it's going to be an upper B for me. A Smithy Forge frame. I've seen it in like Faerie Forest cards and others. Looks really clean. Takes dies really, really well, but I'm not sure about the Morse. This is for sure a low A frame. Yeah, really clean frame overall. Now, this is a Snowlands frame. I'm not sure how much I like it. I don't like the dies on this card at all. But the frame itself is okay. I think that it's for sure a high C for me. Yeah, it's decently popular. I've seen many cards go for that. A Spaceship is another one of those niche frames that goes well with like more scientific, more exploration type animes and characters. I don't really like normal dies on this. It barely dies anything. I haven't seen Mystics on this. I haven't seen Morse on this in my experience, so I think it's a low C for me. Try and put it between. Yeah, there we go. Now, Spirit Flame is another goated frame. I really like this frame. It's underrated in my opinion. A lot of people like think it's a C, but I really like how morphs look on this frame, especially Mystic dies as well. Like dies, like flaming characters. Like it adds a really good, cool like aspect to the frame. Overall, really reliable. I think it's a low A tier. Really like that frame. I think it's above Smithy Forge as well, actually. Next is the Submarine frame. I've been selling bit frames for a while. This is probably one of the 2 frames I've never sold. No one ever sells. No one ever asks for Submarine frame. Sorry, buddy, but I think you're going to a D tier. The Cream Sundae is another classic. Frames a lot of these dessert type, waifu type, creamy, aesthetic characters. It takes dies okay. I'm not sure about Morse, but I see this used a lot, tested a lot. Definitely gonna go into at least a high B. Let's say like here. Now I'm gonna do some tier switching because my B is so stacked. I'm gonna move up the top 2 of B to A. Yeah, that makes sense. And then maybe Bubble Bath goes up to C. All right. This evens out a little bit more. Now, Tree Frog is interesting because it's really popular in Megumi from Jujutsu because of his like little hand shape. But besides that, I feel like every other frame could do this job better. It takes dies surprisingly well, but I think it's just too niche and too particular to be even considered a C tier. So definitely a D tier for me. Tribal Chief, one of the only frames I've never sold. No one really uses it. I've never tested it for many people, so yeah, gonna be a D tier for me as well. Venice Carnival is fine. I think it looks good on the right cards. Yeah, I think it's doable. Haven't really seen like much experience with it though, like dies or frames, so or more. So I'm giving it a mid C. Here we go. Volcanic is another old trusty. I think a lot of people like this frame, and it's just a very plain general. It could work with any one frame. I think it's a high B. A high B. There we go. Awesome. And Water Element is tricky. I think Honestly, cards are either really good, they look really good, or really shite with this frame, and I don't know what to tier it as just because of that. But dies look really clean on this. I feel like if it can work, it can work. If not, it just looks weird because the framing is so small. But I'd say it's a low A tier for me. A watermelon juice is another classic. It's been in here for a while. A lot of people like it, enjoy it. I agree as well. The little thingy things on the top and bottom, you can't really see it from here, but it looks like waves and water. So like some characters with like water skills or elemental kind of theme types use this, and it doesn't even look like a watermelon after you morph it and dye it. So it's definitely a high B, low A for me. I think a high B makes sense. It's definitely king of the B tiers. It's a classic. Whirlpool, I don't really like it. The dyes are really nasty on this, and the morphs are really nasty on this, and it just looks weird in general. Gonna be a low C for me. Now this last one is Wild West. I personally have never used it and never dyed it for people, so but it's clean. It's not as bad as a D tier, so I don't think it's gonna be up there. So yeah, I think a D tier is fitting. Is let's say like here, and this guy is like all the way here. Alrighty, so this kind of wraps up my bit frame tier list. I think I'm gonna reorganize this so that it's one row only. So let's upgrade the watermelon juice to a low A, and let's upgrade what's the best of the D tier, dude? I could not even tell you. It might have to be this bamboo thing. All right, there we go. Yeah, that wraps up my bit frame tier list. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comment section down below. Do you guys agree with it? And if not, why? And just to end it off, I think my favorite frame at the moment is Carnations. I've been using it quite often. I really like this frame. I'm glad they introduced it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my bit frame tier list, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.